The life of wheelchair users, or anyone who has a disability, is not easy, especially when they have to fight to survive. Nobody almost accepts people with disabilities for jobs, so those who need it, go to the street to sell some things. Upon arriving there, there was a man at the gate. He very politely greets the boy and asks Cleo up. The boy doesn't receive him very well, so he asks who? Clayton says her full name, and says he sells bread and she always buys. The boy then says he'll call her. He yells at her at the gate. When he arrives he greets her very friendly as always, and says he brought his favorite breads. She thanks him. And she says that she looks very beautiful today. She looks a little embarrassed, while the boy just observes everything. Clayton says he wanted to ask her a question. And then he says, "Don't you want to have dinner with me sometime?" She immediately looks at the boy, and tells them to talk about it later. Clayton agrees, and asks her to call him. She says it's okay. They say goodbye and she goes in. When he is about to leave, the boy calls him, asks his name, and what intimacy was that Clayton was with his sister. Clayton just says he invited her to dinner. The guy asks where he knows her from, and then he says he's known her for a while, because she takes the buns with me, and she's pretty. The brother says that besides respect, Clayton has no intimacy to talk to her like that, much less to ask her out. Clayton says he didn't mean to disrespect anyone. And the boy tells him to take his bread, leave, and sell it in another place, another neighborhood. Less there. Clayton agrees, and apologizes, because he didn't want to cause trouble, but her brother doesn't even accept the apology, and Clayton leaves. The next day, the brother arrives from work, and finds Clayton and his sister at the gate. Clayton says he made some special buns for a special person. Cleo nice thanks them, and says they are delicious. He then asks how was last week's, and she says it was just as good as everyone else. Clayton says he was thinking, and instead of them going out to dinner, how about going to a movie? She agrees. Then comes his brother saying, "I think you didn't understand what I told you last week, because again you're here talking to my sister." He says that Clayton has no role model, he uses a wheelchair, selling bread. And you are a family girl, you go to college, you have money, paying attention to this guy. Clayton tells him to calm down, because he was just taking her bread, because she can only eat some special breads, otherwise she'll get sick. And he says to Clayton, "You get out of here," and he slams his hand into his pot, which flies away, and goes at Clayton, who ends up knocking him out of his chair. Clayton asks him to calm down, and while his brother keeps insisting that he leave. Cleo is desperate, and asks her brother to stop, while trying to help him up. Her brother tells her to stop helping him. What a humiliation, the guy doesn't even have the strength in his legs to get up. Clayton, still apologizing, shuffles off. Days later, Cleo is having her coffee, and says she really misses Clayton's bread. Then her brother arrives saying good morning, and says he brought her a loaf of bread, from Seuze's bakery. She says she can't eat this one. The brother keeps talking, he brought that one just for her, she doesn't buy from Clayton anymore. Cleo keeps saying that she can't eat, she might feel sick, because she has a gluten allergy. But her brother assures her that she can eat this one. She asks if he's sure and he says yes, and says he's going to the office. Hours later, Cleo went to the street, and as she walked she started to feel a very strong pain. When he saw that he couldn't take it, he sat on the sidewalk, and complained about the pain. Lucky for her, Clayton was nearby and recognized her. He goes to her, and asks what's wrong with her. She says her stomach hurts a lot. Clayton, worried, asks, could it be the buns I gave you last week? She says no, that her brother had brought her some buns from who knows where. Clayton takes out his cell phone and calls the ambulance. He asks for help, says the place they were, and says that they need help, and tells them to go soon. When hanging up he tells Cleo that everything will be fine. But the despair is so much that he asks for help on the street too. The brother, who was at home working, receives a call from the hospital, saying that his sister is in the hospital and that he was supposed to go there urgently. He asks what happened. The girl says that his sister was sitting on the street in a lot of pain. He asks which hospital, and says he's going. When he gets there desperate, asking what happened, he sees Clayton, knocks him out of the chair, saying he knew he had done that. The worried nurse starts calling security, and asks the brother to calm down, says she's fine, but the brother is so angry with Clayton, asks what he is doing there. The nurse, still calling the security, asks him to calm down, because he was the one who took Cleo to the hospital. He is not to blame for anything, but his brother keeps insisting that he is to blame for everything. The nurse still insisting that he stay calm, because it was Clayton who found her feeling sick on the street. He asks what she had. The nurse explains that she has a very serious gluten intolerance. She cannot eat any type of flour, nor bread, and she probably did. The brother then says that it is his fault. The nurse reaffirms that because of Clayton that she was there. Well, he regretted it, starts to help him to get up. When putting him in the chair, the nurse says that he has a lot to thank Clayton, because if it wasn't for him she wouldn't have been able to arrive in time. The brother then asks his name again, and apologizes. He was wrong. I asked for forgiveness out of ignorance, and for everything he said in front of your house. You were just trying to help her and I blindly wanting to take care of her. I ended up wrong with you. If I can fix this, our family has a company, and we have a vacancy available from PCD, if you are available, and want to accept it as a form of forgiveness, and thanks. Clayton says it's okay, he understands, and yes, he accepts it. It will help me a lot. The brother then helps him to stay close to her. The nurse says that he was a hero, and that he did very well to do it for him. The nurse, when he leaves, says that the brother needs to take care of his health too. You don't seem to be very well, you need to calm down, as her health is also important. She says that then she will leave them alone and then come back. The brother continues to ask for forgiveness. He goes to her and calls her to wake her up. When he opens his eyes, he asks if she is okay. She says yes, that she is better. He also asks her forgiveness for his attitude. He was blind with anger, thinking that Clayton was going to hurt her, but he was just helping you, giving you the bread you can eat. Forgive me, I just wanted the best for you. He asks Clayton for forgiveness again, and leaves the two alone.